Imagine a place that tells a story spanning centuries, where culture and nature intertwine to create something truly extraordinary. That's the beauty of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm Abigail, and this is Global Treasures, the podcast that covers the history, travel tips, and legends surrounding one of the 1,248 World Heritage Sites each episode. These places have been identified as having universal cultural or natural significance that is so exceptional that it transcends national boundaries and is of importance to present and future generations. Welcome to Season 3, where we'll explore the 27 sites that UNESCO added in 1980 together. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate all of your support, and you can continue to support us by subscribing at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or your favorite platform. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and subscribe to my blog on globaltreasurestravel.com to hear about my latest adventures. Imagine stepping into a lush, green valley where the mountains rise gently around you. Ancient stone structures emerge, covered in carvings and symbols that have lasted for centuries. This is the Maya site of Copan, one of the most extraordinary achievements of the ancient Maya world. This World Heritage Site is located in western Honduras, near the border of Guatemala. Although Copan was essentially hidden in plain sight for centuries, it gained wider recognition in 1570 by a Spanish explorer. But at that point, its significance wasn't fully realized. It wasn't until the 19th century when archaeological excavations revealed what would come to be considered one of the most important cities of the Maya civilization. But let's take a step back in time, because Copan's story goes back much further. And before we even dive into the history of this site, let's talk about who the Mayans were and why they were so important. Answering these questions could take up an entire episode alone. Unfortunately, they're best known for human sacrifices being an important part of religious rituals that were made to appease their gods or goddesses. While this is true, the Mayans were an incredibly advanced civilization. They had the most developed writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. The Mayans also had incredible artisans and were architecturally advanced. In order to build these massive structures, they must have had an understanding of engineering as well. Keep in mind, this was before modern technology or cement. They also had a sophisticated mathematical system, with records showing one of the earliest instances of the use of extensive zero. The ancient Maya civilization even used their extensive astronomical understanding to refine what we now know as the calendar system. The earliest evidence of human presence in the Copan Valley dates back to around 1500 BC. By about 100 AD, Maya groups migrated into the region from the Guatemalan highlands. Then, in 427 AD, everything shifted. A ruler connected to the powerful city of Tikal arrived in Copan and established an aristocratic dynasty. Over the coming centuries, 16 rulers would shape the city into a flourishing political and religious center. Between roughly 300 to 900 AD, there were major advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and hieroglyphic writing. At one time, Copan was home to more than 20,000 people. The population thrived due to the fertile mountain valley, more than 1,900 feet above sea level. What remains today is a ruined citadel surrounded by public squares and other complexes. The city evolved through 3 major stages of development, each adding layers of temples, plazas, terraces, and even ball courts, before it was ultimately abandoned in the early 10th century. The main complex is centered around the Acropolis and several grand plazas. The Great Plaza is one of the truly magnificent structures of the Maya world, filled with intricately carved stelae and altars. These are stone monuments that depict rulers and mark important events. Nearby is the Ceremonial Plaza, which includes a stadium-like structure surrounded by lavishly sculpted stones and altars. But perhaps the most famous structure is the hieroglyphic stairway. Rising nearly 65 feet high, this massive staircase is encased in more than 1,900 symbols, making it the longest Mayan inscription to have been discovered thus far. It tells the story of Copan's rulers. This really is the kind of place that feels like you're stepping onto the set of an action movie. All of this said, Copan's architecture is both functional and symbolic. The design of its temples, plazas, and terraces represent the characteristic expressions of classic Maya civilization. Pyramids were built to symbolize mountains, plazas represented lakes, and the entire city was designed to serve as a manifestation of the natural and spiritual world. The Acropolis was the heart of the city. It's a massive architectural complex built over centuries, with additions such as pyramids. Running through it is the largest archaeological cut in the world, allowing researchers to see layers of earlier structures beneath later ones, including ancient plaza floors. Among the many structures is the Rosalila Temple, an incredibly well-preserved building discovered inside the Acropolis, as well as the Margarita Temple, which held the remains of a royal woman believed to be the wife of the dynasty's founder. As mentioned before, there are also ball courts where the Maya played a ceremonial game in which players had to keep a ball in motion without using their hands or feet, a sport deeply tied to ritual and cosmology. And then there's Altar Q, one of the most famous monuments at Copan, which commemorates the transfer of power between rulers. The altars and carved monuments reflect a society with immense artistic skill and intellectual depth. Through both design and execution, the Maya left behind a powerful testament to their creativity and advanced civilization. Some of these sculptures have been moved to the on-site museum for preservation purposes. As I mentioned before, like many Maya cities, Copan was eventually abandoned in the early 10th century, and the exact reason remains unknown. Some theories point to overpopulation, while others suggest prolonged drought. There's also evidence that after the death of Copan's most famous ruler, the city never fully regained its former strength. What is clear is that this once thriving city slowly declined, leaving behind the ruins we see today. Copan is now managed by the Honduran Institute of Anthropology and History, and it was officially declared a cultural monument by the Honduran government in 1982. However, the site faces ongoing challenges. Natural forces, like erosion from the Copan River, which has already damaged part of the Acropolis, continue to threaten the structures. The river has since been diverted to help prevent further damage. The area has also experienced damage from at least 2 earthquakes. Despite these threats, conservation efforts have helped stabilize the site, though experts note that expanding the protected boundaries would further strengthen its long-term preservation. Now, let's step out of the past and into the present, exploring what it's actually like to visit Copan today and how to experience this incredible place for yourself. If you're flying in from another country, you have 2 main options. Most travelers land at San Pedro Sula in Honduras and then drive to the ruins. However, since Copan is right on the border, many people actually fly into Guatemala City and take a shuttle. Just know that either way, it's going to be a pretty long ride from the airport. Whichever hub you choose, don't try to navigate the mountain roads yourself at night. Hire a private driver or take a luxury bus. They're incredibly reliable and much more comfortable. I recommend getting there earlier in the day to beat the heat. When you arrive at the site, keep your cash ready. General entry is relatively inexpensive. If you want to see the Sculpture Museum, which houses a full-scale replica of one of the temples, that's an extra fee. While you can navigate the site independently, it's worth hiring a local guide or scheduling a tour through a vetted website. They can spot details in the glyphs you'd never see on your own, and the money goes directly back into the local community. So you may be wondering, when is the best time to visit? I would suggest you aim for the dry season, November through April. The temperatures are more moderate. In terms of where to stay, I always say, save on the flight, splurge on the bed. You'll find a wide variety of homestay options, eco-lodges, bed and breakfasts, and large hotels. Also, I should mention that you can relatively easily bundle this with other UNESCO World Heritage sites. The first being Antigua, Guatemala. A 6-hour shuttle will take you to this stunning colonial city. There is also Tikal National Park. Now, this is a longer trek, about 10 hours north, but there are daily shuttles that connect Copan to Flores, which is the gateway to Tikal. If you want to learn more about those 2 sites, check out Season 2, Episode 5, and Season 2, Episode 42, respectively. Now, let's end today's episode by talking about the food. You cannot leave Honduras without eating a baleada. It's the ultimate comfort food, a thick, handmade flour tortilla folded over refried beans and salty, creamy cheese. For a full dinner, order the plato típico. It's a platter of grilled meat, often beef, with beans, rice, and fried plantains, which are a lot like a banana. It's the kind of meal meant to be lingered over with a cold beer in hand while you watch the sunset over the mountains. As you wander the ruins, remember, the Maya didn't disappear. The Chorti Maya people still live in the hills surrounding this site, maintaining their language and traditions. There are about 4,000 Chorti in the immediate area, and their connection to this land is what keeps the spirit of Copan alive. It's clear that Copan is more than just a collection of ruins. It's an ancient city that tells the story of innovation, power, and ultimately, deterioration. It's a place where history is literally carved into stone, just waiting to be read. And while each Maya site is different, there's just something about Copan, its level of detail, and its continued connection to humanity that makes it unforgettable. Thank you for listening to the Global Treasures podcast. Join me next time when I'll cover yet another World Heritage Site. Until then, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep treasuring the remarkable diversity of our world's heritage.